I don't think you heard me.
Hey, what's up everybody? Matrox Gaming here, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be kickstarting another series on this channel that is going to be dedicated to plot holes, inconsistencies, things that just do not make any sense, and things that I just flat out do not understand for the life of me, all pertaining to Dragon Ball. And to kick off the series, we're going to be talking about why didn't the unseen timeline happen the same way as the main timeline. So for those of you who are confused what I mean by this, I'm talking about the timeline in which Trunks from Cell's timeline traveled to, the one we never saw on screen. Now, I know since it's an unseen timeline, it's not really all that important, but considering all that was mentioned, it makes no sense why this timeline is different than the main one we witnessed. So let's start off with why this is such a head scratcher. Keep in mind that if I do get any of the facts wrong, just go on ahead and educate me and correct me in the comments below, because I mean there's so many details to this thing that I kind of just don't remember some of it. So yeah, just keep that in mind and just feel free to do so. Now, the reason this is such a head scratcher is because Cell explains to Piccolo that Trunks traveled back in time to a timeline not seen anywhere in this series, basically to do the same thing that the Trunks we know it did in the main timeline. However, once Trunks travels back again 3 years later to help with the androids, Trunks travels back to his future timeline once he discovers how he can defeat the androids for whatever reason, which would mean he wouldn't be there to train with Vegeta and therefore wouldn't be there to fight Perfect Cell or participate in the Cell game. This is why Trunks was unaware of Cell and Cell's timeline, and that's how Cell was able to ambush him and take his time machine. However, the issue here is that none of this could have been possible. The only reason Trunks discovered how to beat the androids was after meeting Cell for the first time, which is why he and Krillin went back to Dr. Gero's lab to destroy present Cell, still in his larva form and in development, and also the computer that was making him. It was during this trip he discovered the blueprints containing the weaknesses of the androids and thus saw a way to beat them in the future. And then, for whatever reason, instead of staying behind like he did in the main timeline, he just decided to leave them instead of helping with the androids like he was supposed to. Why? Some people would argue that it's an alternate timeline, things could always play out differently, but that isn't 100% true either. Reason number one is because it's still parallel to the main timeline we see, so therefore things should happen very similarly, if not the exact same. The second reason it being an alternate timeline isn't true is because even if the first reason wasn't an issue, it still doesn't explain the other issues within this whole thing, as in how did Trunks discover the blueprints for the androids before meeting Cell when he only found them after meeting Cell? And since that in itself is an inconsistency, that brings up another question. Since we've already established Trunks being unaware of Cell and Cell's timeline is impossible, then how could he have not known about Cell by that point when Cell ambushed him? I know this would essentially lead to another issue, that being that this would basically start a time loop of this same event taking place endlessly in alternate timelines, but regardless of that, this is still something I feel could have been explained a little bit more, regardless of the fact that this unseen timeline is irrelevant to the story. You could probably chalk it up to Trunks being stupid or something, just to making a bad decision, but even then, it still doesn't explain how Trunks got his hands on the things needed to beat the androids in Cell's timeline and still be unaware of Cell when in the main timeline he only sees all of this once he learns of Cell's existence. With all of that being said, there's no way Trunks could have been killed by Cell, seeing as he went back in time and did the same exact thing that happened in the main timeline, and would therefore trigger all the events that happened afterward. And even then, if he found the reason why Trunks would just leave back to the future, it still doesn't explain why he wouldn't know about Cell at that point when he should have. But Matrox, what would have happened if everything happened the way you explained it? It still doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm getting to that part, just hold on for a second. As I was saying, Trunks going back to the future, even knowing about Cell, would have been a bad move on his part because the remote used to deactivate the androids would have no guarantee to work on Cell. And since Trunks is the more intelligent fighter out of the bunch there, you would think he would stay behind and train in the past as a countermeasure, assuming he would try to use the remote to possibly deactivate Cell somehow. But instead, he would be going headfirst into a fight he wouldn't be able to win. He couldn't even beat the androids in the state he was in, so beating Cell would be out of the question. In case some of you guys don't catch my drift, since time travel stuff can be really confusing and tricky to figure out, let me try and explain in a nutshell what should have happened. Trunks in the unseen timeline does not leave mid-arc back to the the future timeline where Cell originates. The events happen like we've seen in that timeline in particular, which would mean when Trunks returns to the future, he destroys Cell just like we saw, which would then prevent Cell from traveling to the past like he planned and would even prevent the Cell saga from happening as we saw it. After all, it was Cell traveling back to the main timeline that made everything shift from the way it was supposed to have happened, and it was Trunks traveling back to that same timeline that made it shift even further by giving Goku the antidote. So without Cell traveling back, that would mean the androids would be defeated sooner instead of absorbed by Cell, and things would go back to normal. Goku doesn't die when Cell self-destructs, and Gohan may or may not even become a Super Saiyan. This would definitely hinder the progression that occurred in the Majin Buu saga, but with Goku still alive, I'm pretty sure the Z Fighters would find a way to pull through. The reason I say that is because Goku dying prior to the androids arriving is what caused the future to go to shit in the first place. So with Goku still alive, I'm sure everything would all work out somehow. The only loose end to this is the present Cell in the present timeline that was destroyed by Trunks and Krillin. He would eventually awaken, but considering that wouldn't take place until after Majin Buu, I'm pretty sure Cell being released wouldn't be much of an issue even for Gohan by that point probably. But with everything that happened in the story, the only question remains, is this a plot hole? And the evidence suggests yes. I know a whole bunch of events could have unfolded even after that, like if it had gone the exact same way that I had just explained it, and I know all of this would also hinder everything else that happens even after the Buu arc. Dragon Ball Super would have ended up much differently. Krillin and 18 wouldn't get married, 17 wouldn't have the chance to redeem himself and save the universe with his wish, and with that being said, Universe 7 could have lost the Tournament of Power. If that even happens, considering Frieza could have possibly destroyed them all when he returns in Resurrection F, assuming Beerus hasn't destroyed them already in Battle of Gods. Maybe I got a couple of things wrong, or maybe I'm missing some details that I unfortunately do not remember, so if I missed anything, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And also leave in the comments below what you think should have happened, or if you think any of the possible theories on why this happened the way it did. But that's pretty much it for this plot hole video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please be sure to leave a like on this video, leave a comment down below, and also subscribe to the channel, and let me know exactly what other kind of videos you want me to do next. That's pretty much it for today, guys. Matrox Gaming out. Peace.